3 questions before we begin. What if ancient Ziggurats were not temples, but machines? What if a stolen crystal silenced a song the sky once sang with us? And what if, in 2026, that song returns and rewrites everything you remember? If you're in New York, Toronto, London, Sydney, Dublin, or Vancouver, don't move. Keep listening. This is fictional. And dangerous because fiction remembers what facts forget. Over the next 10 minutes, you'll discover why those ancient Ziggurats were more like temporal frequency transmitters. You'll hear how a critical component, the cesium-133 timing crystal called A-LIL, was stolen. And you'll learn about a plan called the Final Correction, scheduled for a solar magnetic alignment in 2026. Stay to the end, because I'm going to give you 5 specific field signals to watch for. I bet you'll recognize at least one from your own life. They called them Ziggurats. You learned the tidy story in school temples. Stairs to the heavens. But look closer at 3 specific sites. Yoreridu and Atimonanki. In Babylon, these weren't just shrines. They were instruments, a triad of machines tuned to lean against time, creating a space for you to step through. Why? 7 levels, Y angles that don't quite add up with standard math, but still make your eyes water when you stand at the base. It's because the engineering shouldn't exist. 7 tiers meant 7 harmonics. Each level was a note in a chord designed to pierce a chronological veil. The ramps acted as wave. The priestly processions were metronomes, keeping the rhythm. The geometry was intentionally non-Euclidean, just wrong enough to coax light to bend and gravity to soften. You wouldn't notice until your shadow bent the wrong way at dawn. Even the bricks were special, magnetically aligned in the kilns. And the mortar, bitumen laced with monatomic gold, a substance that acts like a superconductor at room temperature. Ever walked into a room and felt a sudden pressure behind your ears? That's what activation felt, like the air itself getting thick as a cord locked in. So what did these machines do? Each Ziggurat generated a localized distortion field about 3 miles wide. Inside that bubble, a small craft could step 500 years forward or back. Eridu regulated the power, you stabilized the field. And Atimonanki was the clock that kept the whole song from drifting out of tune. And when that clock vanished, the song ended mid-breath. A splinter group from the original custodians, who later called themselves the architects of the Vel, reached for the heart of the system, the cesium-133 timing crystal A-LIL. They took it. Textbooks say Sumar collapsed. That's a cute way of putting it. It was a temporal recession. The orchestra was still there, but the sheet music was gone. People lived their lives, but the stories lost their extra doorways, and dreams woke up empty-handed. So where do you hide a manual when your library burns? The only archive that multiplies when threatened. The original Chrononaut Corps encoded the core knowledge signature, CKS, into human DNA. Not as words, but as feelings. It shows up as sudden genius that feels like remembering. Blueprints arriving in dreams. Déjà Vu that rattles your bones. A melody you hum without ever hearing it before. The architects of the Veil fear one thing above all else. Quorum. Millions of people remembering all at once. If you're still with me, give this a like so the algorithm doesn't bury this file. It tells me to keep the broadcast coming. Now, Operation Kronos, running from the 60s to the 80s, under the cover of Cold War surveys, finally found A-LIL in 1989. It was hidden beneath a stable basin in Central Asia, damaged, but still pulsing. They built a mausoleum around it and named it the Subterranean Temporal Archive, or S. But if you can't restart history's engine, you learn a subtler crime. They started making micro-corrections. Nudges to the timeline, a policy pivot here, a narrative adjustment there. Suddenly, the world just is different. If the edit is clean, you never see the blade. You just wake up in a room where the furniture remembers being somewhere else. So, here are the first 2 signals to watch for. Echo Signal 1. Orphaned technologies. Inventions that appear fully formed, with no trail of prototypes. Echo Signal 2. The vanishing. Widely reported events that are quietly replaced by harmless versions. People remember both, but only one keeps its Wikipedia page. If you're in Los Angeles, Ottawa, Manchester, or Melbourne, drop a comment with your city and the last time a day felt like it slipped sideways. The sky started talking again in May 2024 with those huge G5 geomagnetic storms. Auroras were seen over Texas, Madrid, Dublin, and Vancouver. People remember the colors. Some remember an emptiness filled with a name they couldn't quite say. It's no coincidence that we're also debating retiring the leap second. Our best clocks are admitting they trip over the planet's heartbeat. If mysteries like this keep you up at night, subscribe and hit the bell. I drop new files every week. The architects have a date circled on their calendar. A rare solar magnetic alignment in 2026. Enough energy to make even a wounded A-LIL dangerous. Their plan is called the Final Correction. Use the energy surge to purge the CKS from human DNA. A world that always was under their control. But before an erasure, there are ripples. Echoes get louder before the final wave. So here are the last 3 signals. Echo Signal 3. Amnesia patches. Synchronized forgetting of public events. Echo Signal 47-day and 49-day news cycles, where headlines cluster in the old Ziggurat harmonics. And Echo Signal 5. Market tremors on the anniversaries of events that supposedly never happened. If you see any 2 of these in the same month, log them. The engineers down in the STA can copy the cage and mimic the chords, but what they can't recreate is quorum. The old machines refused to sing unless a living choir held the notes together. This was the failsafe. Make the on-switch a chorus if you believe stories can be shields. Share this with one skeptic and one dreamer. That's how quorum starts. You don't have to burn books to control history. You just commission the right ones. Promote a friendly theory. Unteach a habit. 10,000 nudges. And you wake up in a place that looks like home but doesn't know your name. To resist, you have to listen for cadence in the news. Treat Déjà Vu as diagnostic and build quorum. Choirs don't happen by accident. Before you go, a question. If someone erased a single word from your oldest memory, would you notice, or would you only feel the breeze where a door used to be? If this transmission found you, like the video so it can find others. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next signal. Now tell me in the comments, which of the 5 echo signals have you spotted this month? And where are you listening from? The Ziggurats are not the ruins. They are instructions. The truth is not a suggestion. It's a chord, waiting for us to breathe on the same count of 7.